Hello to you. Hope you had a great week. Yes, it's true. I have a sports shirt on. This is, my team, my college team. Living in Boise, you can't help but embrace it because it's a college town. Anyway, today's lesson, plant the seed. I'm sure, you all have thought about that phrase many times before. And, it's always I didn't used to really think of it that much until I had people that I hadn't seen for 40 years, and they came and told me they were a Christian and said, I knew that you were, and thanks for talking to me. I don't even ever remember telling them I was a Christian, maybe, but I've had that happen several times. And so I just really realized, and then someone said to me, oh, you're not always there to catch the fruit. And it's true. It's like you plant the seed, you share something of your life with someone, and then years later you find out, that seed grew and what you shared grew, or someone you've been praying about for 20 years, accepted Christ. And it's like there's amazing things that happen. Anyway, so today's plant the seed. Kind of take off on last week. We talked about that you have the tools that you need to share your faith. And today's lesson is kind of like you just need to do that. And I have a quote by D.L. Moody. So if we only lead one soul to Christ, we may set a stream in motion that will flow on when we are dead and gone. That's like so true. I'm sure you've read stories. I've read a couple of great stories about someone who his great-great-grandma shared with someone in her family, and they passed it down to someone else, and they talked to somebody else, and someone became a Christian, and this person ended up like starting an orphanage for boys, a Christian orphanage, or a school, or they, were some ancestor of some great evangelist or some sort of thing. You just don't even know who you're talking to or what they're going to do once they accept Christ. They could do anything. And that's just a really thought-provoking quote. The possibilities are pretty much endless what someone would do. I wanted to read a quote this week out of my book, Bold, on page 185. And it's just kind of a wrap-up of the chapter that's about Rahab. And Rahab, as you know, it was a harlot that lived in the wall around Jericho. And when Joshua and Caleb were bringing the Israelites who'd been wandering in the wilderness with Moses, brought them across the Jordan River to Jericho, they sent some spies to check it out. And Rahab, helped them out, these two scouts that they sent out. And she said that, she would take care of them. And she did tell a fib to the guards who came later to wonder where they were. But it set a whole train of things into motion. And everything was destroyed in Jericho except for, the whole entire wall fell down except where Rahab's family lived. God protected her for helping the Israelites out. And then hundreds of years later, in the book of Matthew, in the genealogy of Jesus, there's Rahab's name. So you just don't know what will happen in someone's life and what effect it can have for hundreds of years later. You just don't know. Anyway, so this is kind of the wrap of that chapter, wrap up of it. Dear reader, we too can act on our faith. If we are confident to knowing who God is and obedient to what God has for us, we too can be conquerors because he loves us. In Genesis 15, God told Abraham that after 400 years of being enslaved in another country, his descendants would return to the land God promised them. After 40 years of wandering in the wilderness, only Joshua and Caleb survived as the leaders. All the others died entering the promised land, Moses included. God had big plans for Joshua and Caleb. When we're obedient in our faith, God shows us that shows us what we can do to share that faith with others. He can show his love, and we can show his love and power to others as we show our confidence in the Lord. Rahab was not redeemed because of anything she did, but because of her faith. She knew the God who parted the sea. She'd heard about the Red Sea. History had been passed down, and she believed that God did that, would keep her safe from harm. She acted on that faith. She was confident in God and took bold action. She is a lesson of how faith in God can change us no matter our past circumstances. Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's a chapter on Rahab in Joshua. You know, sometimes people take a risk and amazing things happen. I mean, they just trust God for it, and amazing things happen. The Reverend Billy Graham was as bold. He was just as bold as they come. There's a chapter in here about Billy Graham too. He had an intense desire to share the gospel with everyone and anyone. And he was so outrageous, you know, he kind of skipped from college to college and wanted to start and do different things and preach to 100,000 people at a time with no sound system. He had a big voice, and he was just extremely outgoing. Not everybody, I realize, has that kind of voice, has that opportunity to do that kind of thing, but you have the opportunity to share with the one person you've been praying for, or a family member, or a neighbor. There's countless of stories of people who've been led to Christ because of what Billy Graham had done. Now, he's no longer living, but his son carries on a legacy by having Samaritan's Purse that goes to emergencies all around the world, and they also have Operation Christmas Child, the shoebox gifts that you give to thousands and thousands of children all around the world. And just that legacy has just grown and grown, and it can reach people all over, everywhere. And that's just amazing. It just takes us, you know, to take that step to share the story. The Bible and praying for your loved ones and neighbors is a good step to take. You know, read your Bible, know who God is so you can share it, and pray for opportunity and plant the seed. Okay, take a step this week to share with just one person. Okay, I'm headed to Scotland. I'll share with one person, maybe someone on the plane with me. And you could share your testimony. We've gone over how to do that in just like 30 seconds, a little short testimony. I'll do it too. Be truthful and honest with someone always, and just be real and share what happened to you when you accepted Christ. Share with someone. You know, I was in a restaurant working in the summer between years in college, and someone came up and said, "You're Nikki Maynard." That was my maiden name. "You're Nikki Maynard." And I said, "Yeah." I didn't know who they were. I'd been an ASB officer and stuff in school, and some people knew who I was that I didn't know who they were, maybe. But all the way through junior high, high school, and college, I was involved with student government. And they said, "You know, I just want you to know that I always knew that you were a Christian, and I accepted Christ about 10 years ago." I actually didn't know the person. And since then, that was obviously a long time ago, something similar like that has happened. My husband's best friend from high school, he was in our wedding, and a few years later, he said, "I just need to really talk to you guys." And he traveled like 3 hours to come talk to us. And he said, "I just want to tell you guys that I became a Christian, and so did my sister and my brother." And this was someone that my husband had spent lots and lots of time with. Anyway, it was just like he knew, he could tell, like, from our wedding and things we did and spending time with him. And I didn't really think much about it at the time, but then now I think back about those kinds of things. It's like you have no idea who you're talking to. There's also the flip side of that, that if you could be really negative or something and turn someone away from Christ. I mean, God draws them, so he would make it happen. I was in a restaurant with my friend a couple days ago, and at a table next to us were these two women complaining about their husbands very loudly in this restaurant. And I just twisted me. And it's like, ugh. So you wouldn't want something like that to happen, because that could turn someone away. So we need to be careful what we do. But, you just don't know. We're not, and you remember, you're not always there to catch the fruit. So you may not know. That person may move away and you think, I'm never going to have a chance to know. You don't have to know, because it's really not about us. It's about their eternity, right? And we can plant the seed and then, see what happens. And we might see the fruit and we may not, but that's okay. So we only have 3 more lessons. We're going to have a little gap here for a week, and then I'll finish up with the last 2 lessons. And I'm kind of excited about those. We're going to kind of wrap up all 45 episodes, and it's going to be exciting. Anyway, I hope you have a good week. Pray for someone to share with this week, even if it's just 30 seconds. Just share your story with them. If you have some Bible verses you want to share with them, that's great. But, just pray for the opportunity, pray for them, and share with them. I'd love to hear with you what's happened. And then I'll see you for the last 2 episodes. And just have a great time. And you pray for me, I'll pray for you. God bless. See you next time.